the bump and run, the Bristol move.
That's aggressive, but that's good. Good hard racing. Oh, he puts him out of the groove there.
Oh, man.
Will he get the bumper? Yes, he does. Here comes Logano. Logano on the inside. A drag race. They're sideways. And it's going to be Logano getting the win.
The back end of the 18. Kick out.
Yeah, he got into it right there. Moved him out of the way. Just got the lead.
It's almost too early to be racing that hard for the lead, wasn't it?
Never too early to be racing for the lead.
At Bristol.
At Bristol.
Man, this is one of the biggest wins of my career.
It's the bump and run,
Baby.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a Michael McDowell type of weekend because he was the big winner at the Brickyard. It was a good win. He well-deserved, in my opinion. We'll talk about it, but make sure you like, share, subscribe. Podcast available every Tuesday night at this point. Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. And on YouTube as well. You can see our pretty faces. You can see us messing with each other in the screens and whatnot. And we're like the kids in the back of the class who, once you get them giggling, you're getting in trouble with the teacher.
We were the kids in the back of the class.
It is true.
I didn't sit in the front. I sat in the back.
Oh, that is a perfect example, Whitey.
But make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Fellas, how was your weekend? I saw Daytona Ron on Friday night. We went to see Guns and fucking Roses.
Yeah. Let's hear about that, man. Let's hear about that.
Dude, it was just fucking awesome. They sounded great. Like surprisingly good for what Axl sounded like in the past few years and everything. Eric, what'd you think about the show? I thought it was fucking amazing.
Well, I'll start off by saying I won the tickets on our local radio station, Rock 107, shout out Prospector.
Yeah.
But it was so weird because literally the day before we were talking about it, Whitey and I, about, oh, let's get tickets. Our buddy Bubba, he was going to see them in Pitt. And we were talking about it, but, I was drinking a little bit. So, Whitey's like, maybe I'll hold off and we'll talk about it,
We'll wait until Monday to buy the tickets. Yeah.
So it was that Monday or Tuesday of that weekend, and I ended up winning 2 tickets to see Guns N' Roses. So I immediately called Whitey up. I'm like, bro, you'll never believe this. 1 ticket to see Guns N' Roses. You're coming with me. Let's go. And I will say it was everything I expected, man. Like, for what those guys put themselves through, we all know. And the last tour that they went on, Axl didn't look too great. He kind of had a lot of weight on him. But they looked like they took this seriously. Axl looked great. He sounded great. And it was worth the ride down to Hershey. And I'll tell you what, I know it was Whitey's first time at that stadium, too. Beautiful stadium. Yeah. I would definitely go back there for a concert. Yep. Easy in, easy out. And it was a hell of a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen 3 concerts at that stadium that I can remember. And wait until you hear these 3 wildly, drastically different acts that I saw. One was Hanson when I was a kid.
Wow. All right. That's kind of cool, though. I give you respect on that.
The next one, I told you guys this one off air. I saw John Mellencamp 4 days after September 11th. Very patriotic concert. Nice. And then Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Parrot Head.
Yeah. I've been treating this summer as my Jimmy Buffett summer. I'm all flip flops, no fucks given, to be honest with you.
If you live the right way, every summer's a Jimmy Buffett summer.
Oh yeah. What you call it, Matt? How's your weekend though? What have you been up to all weekend long?
It was good. Speaking of Buffett, my dad had the annual deck party over at his house, which is just family from out of town comes down. We get to see them and sit back, relax, have some beers, eat some good food and bullshit and catch up with everyone. So it was good to do that. And I said, speaking of Buffett, because my dad's he's a huge Parrot Head. That's where I got it from. And so there's always Buffett playing and it's a good, relaxing kind of end to the summer type deal.
Nice. Shout out to Big Mark Reilly and all the Parrot Heads listening. I'm sure we have a couple more Parrot Heads in the audience today. And then Eric, I saw you're at your hunting cabin. How'd that go?
Oh, yeah. So Saturday, we had plans to go up to the old hunting club and all the guys, nice weekend. Everyone get together, which is hard to do. And, so we try to plan this where it's mostly like my dad, my uncles, and like all of those guys that have the cabin. But Saturday we went up there and it was a beautiful day. It was the meteor showers were the peak Saturday night. So up there, there is no ambient light whatsoever. And, went up there to see the meteor showers and just relax for a night up there, and it's always good to get away somewhere different, and had a good time with the family and the friends up there. And we had the Xfinity race on. So I ended up watching the Xfinity race up there and have some fellow NASCAR fans up there. Our friend PJ Bone, his father is a member up there. And he's like my NASCAR guy up there. So when everyone wants to have football on, and it was preseason, but I'm like, dude, get this off. It's fourth quarter preseason football. We got Xfinity racing going on. And he always has my back with that to put it on. So it was a good time up there. Real good time.
Eric, I know I was going to ask you when I saw you that you were up there. I know there was some tornadoes that ripped through up there about a week ago. Any damage?
No, it ended up being like about 5-6 miles north of where we were. So no damage, no nothing. I mean, we just put a new roof on it after my brother cut a tree down and it fell through it. So, yeah, it was nice to go up there to no damage and still a nice new roof. And it was actually it was the first time we got to enjoy it since we put that on and, have a nice summer. We weren't up there since last hunting season. At least I wasn't. So it's nice to get up there. There's a little swimming hole through the game lands I drove down to. We all hung out down there for a little bit. And overall, it was a good weekend.
Well, yeah, nice. I had a good weekend myself, just hanging out Saturday and Sunday. And we apologize for yet another Tuesday show. I feel like it's just summertime. Tuesdays are easier. Mondays are busy. You're catching up with stuff you're supposed to do on the weekend and stuff like that. So
it's going to be another one next. It's going to be another one next week. Boys.
So you want to
so my wife's a teacher. It's her first day. She has parent-teacher conferences or something like that. She's going to be home late, so I'm going to have to call an audible and do a Tuesday show.
And then
I am right there with you, though, Matt, because I am going to see this man, Charlie Crockett, and Tyler Childers at Bethel Woods.
Hell yeah.
And I won't be home till probably Monday night. So it kind of works out. We're Tuesday boys now. We're the Tuesday boys.
And then the following week, are you going to the Damn Show again this year? No. Okay. I was gonna say there's another Tuesday show for the Monday travel day. I was gonna say we're doing all Tuesday shows until the playoffs start.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But
no, this coming weekend replaced the Damn Show. So next week I am good.
Nice.
Or 2 weeks.
Well, thanks all the listeners for bearing with us. We got a weekend of NASCAR to talk about, but first, do you guys want to jump into the NASCAR news? Not a whole lot to cover, but last week we left off in the Noah Gragson situation. We didn't know exactly what was going on with his contract, whether it was dropped from Legacy or what. He asked for an earlier release from his contract with Legacy so he could start moving along with the process and the path to return to NASCAR after his issue with the social media deal. What do you guys think about Noah Gragson actually asking, like, hey, just let me on my contract, let me figure things out?
Smart. It doesn't leave them hanging. They don't leave him hanging. It's smart. I mean, the writing was on the wall. We've covered this the past couple of weeks where John Hunter Nemechek is probably going to go ahead and take that car anyway. So instead of dragging it along, we know how long sometimes it takes to get the sponsorship deals in place. And you got to start talking to other teams to figure out what your year is going to look like next year, So from a business side of things, it was smart to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was all a business move. You have to be out of a contract in order to talk to other people and try to move forward, whether anyone is out there willing to give him that shot or not. You still have to be free, basically a free agent to go and talk and do anything. So manufacturers come into play with that sort of thing business wise. If you're Chevy or a Ford or a Toyota driver, you kind of have to be out of certain contracts in order to drive here and there. And I think too it was the smart move. And like Matt said, Legacy too, they don't have to putz around. What do we do? What is going on? It's more of a, hey, it is what it is. I think he heard the rumors and saw the writing on the wall about that John Hunter too. I mean, it may be a different story if he had a better season, but this is probably one of the worst seasons that like you could have ever had, and then end it this way. There was just I think he knew there was just no way.
Yeah, I agree. I think just cut ties as easy and quickly as possible and kind of keep moving along. We'll see what happens with him, and we'll keep you updated if we hear any developments in what his career is going to be. The next piece, we got Eric wearing his SVG shirt. It seems like he's close to a deal to get into NASCAR full time. He says the details aren't quite clear whether it's going to be a part-time cup, part-time here, part-time there, but he's definitely going to try to make it over here, and Trackhouse is finalizing the deal now. What do you guys think about SVG possibly coming over, running a handful of truck races, Xfinity races, cup races here and there? What do you guys think about that plan?
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I think, you could already see in the limited amount of time that he's been in the NASCAR Cup Series world, and, he's already produced a little bit of personality that people like. He seems like a down-to-earth guy. That's someone you could sit around a fire and have crack a cold one. And I think people respond well to that. And, I think, with his driving style and his skills and where he comes from, similar to this car, I think it'll work out. And already being there with Trackhouse, hey, you got to win there. They have all the confidence in the world, and third cars normally don't work out too well. But essentially, I think he knows that it's going to be a learning process, and he's not going to, have results on the ovals that he normally would on these street road courses. But I think he has a skill set to learn and pick it up pretty quick. He seems like he's very, very serious about it. It's not just like something where, I had success or I tried it out. Like, even if he didn't win, I think he still would have tried to come over to the Cup Series world and try to get a NASCAR career going. So I'm all for it. And I think Trackhouse is a great organization. And you saw it with Suarez and, Chastain sticking behind somebody and believing in them and saying, we're going to do what we can to give you the best ride. And damn right, SVG is going to go out there and do his thing.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I picked up on over the past couple of weeks of SVG kind of entering our NASCAR world is, and listen, admittedly, I knew nothing about him before Chicago, is he seems like he fits with like the NASCAR community, like Eric kind of alluded to a minute ago, is like you see some of these guys come from the outside world and they try to blend in, and it's maybe not really a good fit personality wise or whatever, but it seems like he really does fit. And like Eric said, I'd like to sit down and have a Foster's with him. Australian for beer.
I don't know, man. Did you ever have a Foster's before? It is not a good beer. Me and Eric were actually talking about it on Friday. Surprisingly, we were talking about
114.
Yeah, we were talking about a music venue down in Philadelphia that we both happened to be at, and I was like, I remember that place because I got a Foster's, and the can it's so like dense. It's like the size of an oil can, and it was not an enjoyable beer either.
We apologize to our new listeners from across the world.
Sorry.
We're sorry.
Sorry, I'm used to my my American piss water and shit.
Foster's over there and you enjoy it.
Yeah, let us know. But I'm excited too. I'm excited to see what he does. I think he finished 13th in the truck race at IRP this weekend. 19th. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
What's that, Matt?
I was just gonna say one thing to add on to that was it sounds like he's having a blast, and I know he was on the Dale Jr. download and he was talking about the differences between the V8 supercar and the Cup car, and how much fun it actually is to drive these things. So, and then I know after the truck race, I saw a quote somewhere that like he had a blast running the truck race as well. So I think if anything, it's always going to be for the competitive, to say he did it, and obviously he's going to come out over here trying to win again. But, if you're having fun doing something like that's the most important thing right now. So good for him. And, I'm excited, and hopefully other guys outside of the NASCAR community see that and try to make their way over too. And, bring the other fan bases, bring their eyes onto our sport. So it's just growing it. And, I love to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just his presence is going to do wonders for the international audience too. And like you guys said, like he seems like a personality we need in NASCAR too. So I'm excited to see what happens to his future. Finished top 10 in the Indy road course this weekend, which I also think is very impressive because those Australian V8 supercars are left-hand drive. So he's shifting with a completely different hand and controlling that car. And I know you sent the clip, Matt, in Twitter. Maybe it was Eric, but they talked about on the broadcast that pass he made on Kyle Larson, where they're like, people just don't make that pass. Like that was a hard pass to make, and it was really interesting. I thought he did a very good job from what we saw on television. And then the last piece of news kind of makes sense for a little bit of Kevin Harvick's performance lately. He reveals he has been racing with broken ribs since one of the off weekends. He was vacationing in Italy and took a spill and injured himself. What do you guys think about old Kevin Harvick racing with broken bones?
Hell of a year for drivers to be getting hurt outside, away from NASCAR, huh?
For real.
I had no idea about this Kevin Harvick injury.
I didn't either until I read the rundown before the show. I had no idea that happened.
So
completely.
They briefly mentioned it on the broadcast during I think it was pre-race interviews and stuff like that, or maybe it was even the post-race. But yeah, he just kind of came out with it pretty recently. He didn't tell really anyone about it. So I mean, tough old dog, running in that 4-car. Just sucks that it's his last year. Kind of probably hinders his performance a little bit. But other than that, that's all the NASCAR news I have to talk about, unless you guys saw anything on Twitter today that I might have missed.
I'll tell you what, broken ribs, back-to-back road courses, that probably sucked.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was just thinking about that. Like, at least in you're at an oval, you're going, you're kind of steady for the most part. There's bumps and you get, moved around in the car, but man, going over all those turtles and every apex you go to hit, that had a kill.
Even depending on which side the ribs is on, even an oval, like if it's on the right side and you're getting pushed into your seat the whole time, that's got to kill you too. I know.
Have you guys ever had injured ribs or anything like that? I've had bruised ribs before, and it sucks. And that's not broken ribs.
I have, and I'll tell this story. And Matt, you love this story.
Oh, is it yes?
It's these stories.
I wasn't prepared. Okay.
So
this is my favorite Whitey story of all time.
So years ago, it was the winter time in Pennsylvania. My mother asked me to break up all of the ice in the driveway. My whole backyard, slick ice, real bad. And I had been putting it out for days and days and days. Anyways, I come home from work and I'm walking out of my car with my lunchbox, and I slip on the ice movie style. When I say both legs above my head, they went right up. My lunchbox goes flying and I land on my left side. And I'm just laying there. It knocked the wind out of me so bad that I thought I was internally bleeding and my left lung was filling up with blood, right? And I'm just laying there going, man, this is how I die. Because my mom's not going to be home for another 2 hours. I'm going to die here on the ice, and I deserve it because I didn't do what she asked me to do. Now I lay on the ice in the cold for about 4 minutes before my breath finally comes back. I can't breathe at this point. This is where my whole mind is going. The insides feel warm, like I'm just internally bleeding. For the next month, I couldn't sneeze or cough without feeling like I was getting stabbed in the back. So I must have bruised a rib or something. I did damage. It was one of the most painful and longest lasting injuries of my entire life.
Such a thing to happen to you. It's unbelievable. I've seen that live actually in Bloomsburg where
I forgot about that.
Where he claimed that, oh my God, so it's icy out. We're going from bar to bar, walking from our buddy's apartment or whatever. And you know how you could run as a kid, slide on the ice. I'm going to do a little slide on the ice,
It's my favorite thing to do.
Don't do it. Every time you're just going to try to go a little bit farther, a little bit faster. It's not going to work out. We're drinking. Don't do it. You go, nah, dude, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. And he goes, runs, and he's sliding, and then whoop. There goes white man's legs right up over his head, onto the ground, right in front of a whole bunch of chicks. And I'm like, he popped right up, though. Like a spring, dude. Popped right up. blood started coming from his head, and he just took off. We know what was going on. I'm like, where you going, dude?
In my defense, I did slide.
Fight or flight, the flight kicked in.
No, in my defense, I did slide across pretty much the whole entire road till the end. I hit a dry spot, and that's what stopped me. Stopped me dead in my tracks. I smashed my head. The reason why I popped up, though, was because I saw those girls there. So I popped up real quick to be like, yeah, I'm cool. No worries. But I was disoriented. I was like, I just got to get out of here. So
White hoodie on, he's touching his head. There's all this
covered in blood, dude.
Sleeves are red.
You know what the worst part about that story is, though? Like an hour goes by, right? We're back in Bubba's apartment. I'm cleaned up. We put like peroxide on, burns like hell. And me and Eric are laying down. I'm laying on the couch. Eric is on the air mattress on the floor. Bubba's in his room with the door closed, but it's a thin wall. And Eric turns, he goes, yo, man, for real though, you okay? And Bubba in the other room just starts dying laughing, like dying laughing. I'm like, man.
I was genuinely concerned. Like, I've had a lot of concussions in my day, dude. So it's like, don't let your buddy fall asleep. You know what I mean? I'm like, why? Like, are you good, dude? I just want to make sure, like it was the most serious that I could be in the moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, bud, like, are you good?
But no, I was good. I might have been slightly concussed, but not too bad. Where I woke up the next day, so it's all right.
We can do an entire episode on stories like that, from times drinking and just doing stupid shit, like an entire episode.
Oh,
At
yeah.
least it didn't end up like Kurt Busch, Whitey. You're back in the driver's seat and the show goes on, buddy.
You're goddamn right. Bring it back to NASCAR. And the NASCAR weekend, we had a triple header in Indy. Trucks were at IRP. Ty Majeski won. Did you guys see any of that race on Friday night?
No.
Yeah, me either. Of course, me and Eric, we were at Guns N' Roses, so that kind of took priority. Xfinity, Ty Gibbs won the race, and then a little bit of controversy after doing a burnout in the middle of the cool-down lap. Eric, you said you saw the Xfinity race. What did you guys think about that? Matt, did you see it at all or no?
A little bit. What the frick was I doing? Well, the party. I was at the party, so we had it on, but I was like in and out of it.
Background, yeah.
Ty Gibbs seemed to just have the car. He seemed to be out front wheeling it. I mean, look what he's doing in the Cup Series. I mean, he's one of the best road course drivers with this next gen car at road courses. So you go back down to Xfinity where he was dominant. He seemed to have the car that everyone was chasing. And you're right, Whitey, that when I was watching him on that cool down lap, I saw shades of old vintage Xfinity Ty Gibbs, like where he's kind of like, that showboat and show off on Ty Gibbs. And like, I think that win got to him a little bit, and like he's like, all right, and like he's one of those things where I think he's good at controlling it, but when he went and that emotion comes out, his true, real emotion came out, and I was shocked when he was doing what he was doing. He burned out right in front of the whole field. Yeah, did a complete donut and a spin. I'm like, what?
Like
are you
real
doing
close
right
to those
now?
cars too,
like really close to those cars.
So I don't know. I'm surprised NASCAR didn't penalize or fine him or anything. We'll see if something happens tomorrow. But yeah, just for like a safety aspect. But Matt,
I don't think anyone said anything on the broadcast though either about it. Like I was watching it, I couldn't hear the broadcast because like we had it on the TV, but everyone's at the cabin. We're like kind of just bullshitting or whatever. Like I'm just watching it. I don't know if the broadcast was like, "What is he doing? Oh my god!" Like.
I think Rick Allen did mention he's like, I don't know, it's a little bit of a safety concern as he burns it down. But we'll see what happens. Matt told you to bet on Ty Gibbs last week during the betting preview for the Cup race. We just missed the race on that one. So,
Sorry, I'm watching. I honestly, until now, didn't see it. I'm watching it now. Yeah, it's a little dangerous.
A little bit. Like
dangerous.
At first, it didn't seem too bad because it was in like a runoff area in a turn. I was like, oh, well, he's off the course. But then he cuts back in onto the track and then starts doing it again. And that's when I'm like, oh, man, there's cars coming. And then like you see this big cloud of smoke now as you're cooling down on your lap. You can't see shit. You don't know where to go. Like,
That's just Young being excited, not to defend him because I'm not the biggest fan of him, but it's just him being young, excited, and Probably grandpa got in his ear and said, yeah, let's not do that again.
No. Well, they told him not to burn it down on the bricks. And I guess that was his response. So
he's like literally spinning in front of the cars.
Yeah. Like
the cars had to stop for him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they were in the cloud of smoke with him as he's burning out, like still trying to go on their cool down lap. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen as far as a victory burnout. You know.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. Yeah, he probably got a stern talking to.
I would say so. And then we had a cup race. Michael McDowell led 3 times for 54 laps, pretty much dominated the day. Your race time, 2 hours, 9 minutes, 59 seconds. We saw 1 caution for 3 laps, thanks to Joey Logano. And we saw 10 lead changes among 7 different drivers. McDowell, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Tyler Reddick, and Alex Bowman, your top 5 for the day. Fellas, you want to jump into the race grades? I think we started with Matt last week, so we'll start with Daytona Ron this week.
All right, I gave it a B+. I thought that race was an amazing race. It was refreshing. Matt, I don't know if you had this in your race grade as far as talking about the race, but I kind of hijacked it from what you sent us on Twitter. Because it pretty much summed up how I felt too after the race. It was a tweet from Dale Tanhart, I think the name was, and he tweeted, it said, "In a world where chaotic NASCAR has taken over, it is refreshing to see a full natural green flag race in 2023. Old school road course feel and nice to have zero doubt that everybody's results were 100% deserved."
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. I loved that they went green. We watched the strategy play out. We've been talking about it on here. If you've been listening to us about, me especially, I was kind of vocal about these green-white checkers because these late cautions and as exciting as they are, and even Junior mentioned it on his podcast where he's like, as a broadcaster, yes, you want stage 3 to be exciting. You want there to be a little bit of chaos as a broadcaster to keep the race exciting and entertaining, but he also said the same thing as we did. It was awesome to see everybody's strategy play out, the racers and the cars and the people behind that. They went out there and wheeled it. Nothing got involved. It wasn't a whole Logano every 3 laps dive bombing in there and causing a shit show at the end of these things like we've normally seen. And to me, that was very, very refreshing. We saw great racing. And to me, it was a knockout race. I was actually surprised. I think I went in there with maybe not the best mind frame about what kind of race we're going to get because of what I just stated. Everyone dive bombing in and just what possibly could happen that we've seen. And I think it blew my expectations out of the water. And that's always a good thing.
To your point about the dive bombing, because we talked about this a lot during the last season and a half. But it's something I don't know if you guys noticed. They changed the restart zone at Indy. Yeah. They pushed it back so it's not going right into turn 1. I kind of wish we got to see another restart just to see how that would have gone, to see if it kind of improved some of those shenanigans and stuff where people laying back to try to get a run and dive bombing and everything. But other than that, I agree with you. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, totally agreed. I'm right in the same boat. Eric gave it a B+. I gave it a B. So same neighborhood. Everything Eric said, and I think the key point with that tweet and why it really drove home with me and why I sent it to you guys is because that line that said, there was no doubt on everyone's position and what they earned. Yeah. And nothing is more true than, Michael McDowell. He earned that race and he had 2 dogs in Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott chasing him down towards the end of that race. And all he had to do was screw up just once, just one turn. All he had to do was screw up one time and he was going to lose that race. And he didn't. He earned it. And it was cool. It was really cool to see that. I'm a fan of Chase. I wanted to see Michael McDowell screw up more than anybody in the world because I need to see my guy in the playoffs. But it wasn't his day. It was Michael McDowell's day. So it was really cool to see. I enjoyed it. It was kind of an eventless race. Per se, which is fine, because again, we got to see those strategies play out. It was an old school, no caution type of race. It was quick. There were moments here or there, like I said, where we thought maybe Reddick or Chase could hunt him down, but ultimately it came down to Michael McDowell not screwing up, and it was cool to see. And it was just I found myself really enjoying it. And here's another thing too, and I might be way behind the 8 ball on this. I might be late to the party, but our buddy PJ sent me over a website called NASCAR Damas, and what it is it's essentially what the broadcasters have in front of them when they're calling a race, where it has every lap, everyone's time and speed, and then it highlights the top 5 fastest speeds every single lap, so who's fastest. Then on top, it has average 5 lap speed, average 10 lap speed, average 15 and 20 lap speed. It has most spots gained, most spots lost since the start of the race and since the last restart. Like, it has all this information right in front of you. And so I threw that on my laptop and put it on my lap and watched the race and had that going. And I was looking at all the data, and holy shit, like, it made the race. I never watched a race before this past weekend. That's how I felt. Like, it was just like a brand new way to watch a race for me. And I'll never not watch it without that website ever again. So it works on your phone, works on a laptop. If anybody is interested in that website, reach out to us in the comments, or if you know us, text us. I'll get that website over to you. It's phenomenal. And then it's accessible for all 3 series as well, the Truck Series, Cup Series, and Xfinity Series. So I highly suggest it, especially a road course like that, right? Where like lap times, like everywhere,
strategies and whatnot. Yeah,
man. Like it all matters, and it was such a cool tool to use. So highly suggest it. I think that helped my race grade a little bit too.
Yeah, I was checking that website out throughout the race. Like, I would go back and forth and kind of see like, oh, what's going on, and it really was super interesting to see all the different data it really was giving you. It's kind of like loop data right in the moment,
Yeah.
It really did heighten some of it, because like at one point I'm like, well, is Reddick fast enough to hunt him down? Like, and then I'm like, he's only making up like 0.2 a second on each lap. I'm like, I don't think he has it right now. Like. It was
to your point. Yeah. To your point. So like, I was watching Chase's lap times. I was watching Michael McDowell's lap times, like in real time as the race is going on. And I knew, like, I didn't get too excited that Chase was going to hunt him down, because I was watching the times, and I knew unless there was a caution, he wasn't going to get to him. He was going to run out of time. He was about 2 or 3 laps short of being able to catch him without a mistake being made. So again, a really, really cool tool to use. And like the broadcasters would mention, so-and-so had the fastest last couple laps. And I'm sitting there like, I already know that.
Yeah.
It was cool. So I highly suggest it.
It's pretty neat too when they cut to the broadcast booth, and Fox usually does it more than NBC does. You'll see the screen that we were looking at on one of the monitors. So like it's the straight up same data that they're getting throughout the race. So yeah, definitely hit us up. Maybe I'll tweet it out later on. You can check out the link. What's up, Eric?
I'll tell you what, we were texting during kind of maybe like towards the end, almost after the race. And I agree with you here, Whitey, but I kind of bring up our conversation where we were at. You needed that caution to come out for Reddick.
Yeah,
you needed that caution for
yeah.
Chase to get up there. Like, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think that would have made for a way more interesting race, more racing battles. But where I kind of liked what happened on Sunday was, it's okay every once in a while to have a full green old school race like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we had so much of that previously that, like, that is where I was coming from. I agree. Like, if the cautions came out, I think it would have made for a way better race. I can't deny that. Like, you can't. Like, the chaos and the restarts, what that would have, done for the actual race and the racing, and like we said, like, what are some of the bullet points that came out of this race? Not much as far as chaos and racing and battles and that much. And I think the restarts would have definitely added to that. But I like that they're mixing these road courses in where they don't have that, because like Brad Keselowski said a few weeks back, like, that was a race of pure team, pure driver. Everybody had to execute. Nobody had, one little thing, you were done because there were no cautions.
Yeah.
And you kind of knew there weren't any cautions. So it's like, okay, Reddick, you have to go out there and do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
If you could make that up as a driver, you got to make that up now. you as a team, you have to do what you can as a driver. Like, what are you going to do to make this up? And I like that part about it, but I have to admit that I know you really wanted that caution, it would have definitely made for a more interesting ending stage 3 like we've been having of late.
I tell you what, though, that kind of goes into my race grade perfectly because, like you guys said, not super eventful, but I thought it was a solid B. And I like that it was pretty much yellow free for the whole entire race. I was glad to see it kind of play itself out, and I was getting excited for all the pit stops to see what would happen on pit stops. I was getting excited to see if anyone would mess up, like anything would happen. And I was super excited watching Chase hunt him down. Like, yeah, they still kept it within 3 seconds that whole entire last, like, I don't know, 10, 15 laps or so, where you're like, I think he could do it. Like, if McDowell messes up. So, like, the excitement was there, even if the action really wasn't there. You know what I mean? It was like the build up to it all. And like you said, I was praying for a caution just to see what would happen, see if Reddick could get like some positions. But in the end, I was happy it didn't come out. I was happy it went green. And I was actually super happy for Michael McDowell, where I kind of got choked up during his post-race interview where I'm like, man, this guy he worked his ass off for a long, long time to get to victory lane. And like, even when you think about his first win at Daytona, the Daytona 500, yeah, the Penske cars taking themselves out. He just capitalized on it. This one, him and his team went out and fucking earned it. You know, like a lot of people were mad, like, oh, McDowell's a waste of a playoff spot. I don't think so. We've talked about it the last couple years. Like that team's been getting better and better. We've noticed it. What's up, Matt?
Whitey, say what you told me, because I agree with it.
Oh, I don't think Chase deserves to make the playoffs. Like, I don't think he has a playoff season.
McDowell.
Over McDowell. Yeah, over McDowell. You know what? Honestly, if Chase won that race, like, I'd be happy for Chase and the Chase fans, but I don't think he deserves a playoff spot over McDowell. I mean, McDowell not only, well, I mean, I kind of covered it in the checkers, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I did really enjoy that race. I thought it gave me just a good pit strategy, fucking, you got to be on every corner race. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see it every week, but for the Indy road course, I thought it was a really entertaining and enjoyable race. The playoff storylines, like, we had stuff there.
That was key.
Yeah.
The playoff, all those drivers that were at the bottom of the playoff, they all showed up. And I remember saying to myself at one point, where's this all year? Like, these guys, whenever they need to show up, these teams, look at Christopher Bell last year. Yeah. They show up and they go out and win. Like McDowell, where was this all time? Bowman had a great race. Like, even last week, coming up, like these bubble drivers, they seem to find a little bit of edge at the end of the season when they really needed to get those finishes or those wins. They tend to do it. You know what I mean? So it was nice to see what we've been talking about as far as the playoffs and that cutoff. It's finally starting to boil up, and that is what we kind of were paying attention to on Sunday. At least I was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that was the most exciting part about Sunday, is just the cutoff line, the playoff battle. We talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it on air or off air last week or 2 weeks ago. We were like, man, they really haven't mentioned much about the playoffs. Now the playoffs are here. It's heating up. We got 3 open spots. We got 2 open races, a road course where it seems like those are the new ones where anything can happen too. We could see Suarez go out and win. We could see Chase go out and win. That knocks Bubba out of the playoffs. He's right on the line. Could knock.
I could go out and win it.
You could go out and win it. And then we got Daytona, where anyone could go out and win. And then we could be put in a situation where we were last year, where there's 1 open spot to point your way in, and that's it. Like, this is getting exciting, I think.
I mean, we talked about it. We never thought, I mean, you look at it in the beginning, maybe halfway through, I started with my picks. Okay, this driver, it's signed multiple wins. It's catching up. The good teams are showing out. We're not having, no, this is a new winner. This is a new winner. What? This guy won? Oh, my God. But we're still getting different winners as this season is going on. And, you know, that always throws that wrench in here. 2 races left. It doesn't matter. The field is as tight as it's ever been. And the competition, like, that's where I agree with the McDowell stuff. You know, like that team, if you think about them from 3 years ago, you couldn't. There'd be no way that you would say that he deserves a playoff spot.
Yeah,
even after that Daytona 500 win, you're like, what is he doing? That's kind of a waste of a spot. And it was kind of a waste of a spot. But now with this new car, the next gen, what it has done, honestly, to tighten this field up and make the competition, that much more even, which then it makes the competition that much better, because now you got to do different things, find that little thing to get your way to the front. And, it's surprising to see the 34 and the moves that they made to get there, but it was awesome to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm just really excited for playoff racing, to be honest with you. I'm excited for these next 2 races to see what happens.
I'm excited for Watkins Glen and Daytona. It's going to be madness. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a great time. But boys, you want to jump into the checkers and wreckers?
3 wide for the lead. 1 lap to go.
It's this week's checkers and wreckers.
All right. Since we started with Daytona Ron with the race grades, let's start with Matt for the checkers and wreckers. What'd you think?
My checkers, I kind of alluded to it a little bit in my race grades, but it's going to go to how quick the race was. So 2 hours and 9 minutes, I believe, was the time for the race, which was a great length for like a Sunday afternoon race. So
yeah.
We talk about all the time how, sometimes when the race ends at 7:30, the night's pretty much over by the time you wind down from the race and you get done with that and you shake it off. The night's over. It's Sunday night. But, it was over at a reasonable time. I think it was like 5:30. I think the race was over, something in that neighborhood, 6 o'clock. So it was great. It was quick. It essentially went green the whole time, so there is a con to that. It was a quick race, but there was not a lot of action that we've talked about already. So kind of in the spirit of transparency, I'd probably trade an extra half hour of racing, an extra 45 minutes of racing, if it means a little bit more action than what we got on Sunday. But still, a 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 45-minute window, perfect.
Yeah, I thought the race length was great too. I think it ended actually a little bit earlier than like 5:20. I feel like we got a lot of post race, and then the 6 o'clock news came on. So I think it was like 45 minutes of post race coverage. But I agree. You know what? We need it. We needed that caution and a green white checker to extend it by like 15, 20 minutes, and it would have been perfect.
You know what though? Remember the first Indy race with the turtle incident where the last 5 or 10 laps lasted literally an hour.
Yeah, that was.
I'm kind of I'd rather take what we had an uneventful race this past weekend than that debacle 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was.
You're talking eventful as in on the racetrack racing battles. You're not talking eventful like, oh no, the turtle's coming up and this is something that
red flag conditions.
And everything has to stop. Yeah, that was bad. Oh my god, man, I totally forgot about that. Holy shit, those cars were getting messed up on those.
Yeah, they were.
I think we came on we'll have to go back, listeners, if you have time, go back and watch that or listen to that episode after Indy. I guess it was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah,
it would have been 2021.
Yeah.
Yep. So it would have been our first season.
Beside ourselves after that race, because it's what the hell did we just witness?
Because not only did we see that, do you remember in the Xfinity race that year, they put a weird turtle on where there was a runoff at some point. They put it in overnight and everyone forgot about it. And they literally launched cars into the air.
Cars were literally off the ground. It was, oh man.
They had to drag the turtle away. They had to drag the turtle away so they can finish the last green, white, checkered laps.
They did.
Oh my God.
In the cup race, someone split. I think it was William Byron's splitter got stuck underneath it. They had to rip that apart. Oh, what a fucking clusterfuck. The thing too, though, Matt, that reminded me of a cool stat of the day. Every winner.
Greg Biffle.
No, I wish. Every winner of the Indy Road Course in the Cup Series, it was their second win. AJ Allmendinger won that first one after Ross Chastain or was it Chase Briscoe took out Denny Hamlin? One of those guys took out Denny Hamlin. He got his second ever Cup Series win. Last year, Tyler Reddick got his second ever Cup Series win. And this week, Michael McDowell got his second ever Cup Series win, all at the Indy Road Course. So
I like how you automatically defaulted to, I don't know who took out Denny during that race, but chances are it was Chastain.
It was either Chase Briscoe or Ross Chastain.
It was Briscoe for that race.
Okay, then the next year, Ross
Remember, he
Chastain
cut half of the field off and went out onto the
Then it was the next year, Ross Chastain cut off half the field, went out, and then was battling for the lead when he wasn't in position or whatever. So yeah. But they were blue cars. Both had blue cars, I believe. So that's what it was. How about your records, man? What was your records for the weekend?
So take my records with a grain of salt because I had trouble with finding a records this week, which is a good thing, right? So
yeah.
My records, it's going to go to the 4 of Harvick, and honestly, I picked him as my records before I knew he had broken ribs. So. Again, take this all with a grain of salt. But, I don't know how much I truly buy into my own records this week, but that's all right. So, I don't know. I know Harvick struggled during this race. He had a shit race. He finished 23rd. He averaged a 28th average running position, and he was just non-existent. And I just think I expected a little bit more out of Mr. Consistency heading into this weekend, and we just didn't get that. But again, I know I'm grasping at straws here because he's still – 145 points to the good in the playoff picture. He's going to clinch his spot. I'm assuming he's going to clinch his spot this weekend after Watkins Glen is all said and done. So he'll be okay. He's also coming off an 8th place, a 10th place, and 2 4th place finishes. So I'll cut him some slack, especially because I didn't know about the broken ribs as well. I thought maybe it was a little fitting that for maybe one last time I had to wreck Kevin Harvick in the 4.
There you go. I thought it was interesting. Stewart-Haas Racing had a rough day in general, but they all qualified in like 30th or worse, right? Except for one. I forget where Chase Briscoe qualified.
Briscoe had a decent race.
Yeah, Briscoe had a day. Yeah, he had a decent day.
Yeah, but like other than that, man, he qualified 13th, finished 6th. So Chase Briscoe had a good day. Everyone else qualified sub 30th, and only Kevin Harvick, besides Briscoe, finished in the top 30. So just sad. Ryan Preece finished 31st. He qualified 30th, and we'll talk about Eric Almirola. He finished last. We'll explain what happened to him in a little bit. But Stewart-Haas Racing fucking struggling, and you can't even blame Ford at this point because Ford won the race. How about you, Eric? Do you have a checkers and records this week?
I do. We talked a little about it, in the beginning of the show, part of the race news. I'm wearing a shirt. I'm giving it to SVG, baby.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of talk about Dale Jr. This past week saying, we talked last week where he thinks, hey, you go out and win. And if you're going to sign this guy, he has to go out there and not just come in the top 3. He has to win. Yeah. And I didn't agree with that. I thought they were being a very kind of
harsh. I felt
harsh, and like that's going a little too far in my eyes. And so I'm like, okay, let's see what he does here. Coming up this week at Indy, and he qualified 8th, and he finished 10th. He ran the truck race, first time ever doing an oval, finished 19th.
Yeah,
and like. I just thought overall this week he deserved praise, and I think he earned my respect. He didn't go out there and qualify 8th and then just finish 24th. You got to think too, perspective. He talked about it. He had 20 minutes of practice, and it's the first time he's ever on this road course.
Yeah.
These other guys is the first time he's racing against people that have been to this course multiple times.
They have experience.
And they have practice. He didn't. So he still qualified in 8th and finished the race 10th. He also talked about how aggressive that these drivers are and how he was still kind of figuring out what you could do, what you can't do, how certain people race. You factor all of that in. You factor in the other side drive of the car. You factor in the width of this car, how different it is than a super, car. They talked about how similar the two cars are, but in that Dale Jr. podcast, he said how different they actually drive. Spec, yes, they are similar in that aspect. Front clip, rear clip, chassis, very similar. But the tires, the weight, everything about the car, the downforce is underneath instead of on top with the wing, to adjust to that, and yes, you won that street course. That's impressive on its own. But to come out, qualify in the top 10, finish in the top 10, all without having his mentality of aggressiveness and how aggressive he could be. I just thought that was super, super impressive. We all know the Truck Series and how wild that could be. And for him to go out there and race and have a great time out there with that field of people, we know how they go. I just have to give him credit. I thought there were some people that were harsh on him for his expectations going forward and what teams would need out of him to sign him. I saw enough for me to warrant his, like I said earlier, he seems to be passionate about it. He seems to be very serious about it. Look out when Ross Chastain gets in his ear about how aggressive that you have to be in this car. He actually noted that if he probably could have made it a little higher than 10th and ran a little bit there because he wasn't as aggressive as, he doesn't know. He doesn't want to go in here and be a wrecking ball either. He kept his car clean, which that's hard to do as well.
Yeah.
Until I heard that the supercars, I know I'm going on a long rant here, but the supercars, their penalties in that series, you can't even touch the guy in front of you or you get a penalty.
Real.
So he said that the aggressiveness
clean.
in the supercar series, you have to be very calm. You have to be very tame. If you go and you bump a guy and you move him out of the way, that's like an immediate penalty, he said. So those series is a very more tame, he said. Like in NASCAR, he goes, you could go out there, you could get away with a lot more stuff and you could be a little bit more aggressive. He hasn't learned that part yet. So imagine an SVG that learns that part, and then you throw him in there at a road course. I think that he could hang with these guys and possibly get another win. It's all new. I'm just respecting him and I'm hearing him out. And it just seems to me that he has what it takes, and gotta give respect to the old SVG.
Dude, whenever I hear the SVG, all I think about is Rob Van Dam. SVG. I love it.
That he should start doing that type of shit, really market himself like that. But dude, like hearing you talk about all of the little differences and everything, it has me really excited to see what he can do once he really gets a hold of this car and just the NASCAR competition. Because man, I didn't know that they had to be super clean like that. And we talked about it like last year and the year before, especially like road courses kind of became the new short track for a while there, where there's a lot of beating and banging and bumping and like hard racing. So like if he could do it clean and then save that aggression for when he really needs to, that's a dangerous man in my opinion.
He's only 34 too, so he's not young by any means, but he's not 44. So if he takes a year or two to kind of learn the sport and then gets a full-time opportunity for a year or two, it could be dangerous. You never know.
He seems like the kind of guy that picks things up super quick too. Like just good car control, all sorts of stuff. So like
it's the brain, it's the understanding. And it's even, he was talking about how he had to practice talking to his crew chief, Darian Grubb, what he needs. Cause they say oversteer, understeer, not loose and tight.
Oh yeah.
So just the terminology that he had to learn and get down and understand so that he could relay to his crew chief what his car is doing
to make the car better,
right. To make the car better. So he's used to saying a completely different terminology and that has to be hard too. So like he's learning all of this and still qualified top 10, finished top 10, won at Chicago. I mean, come on. That's enough for me,
Yeah, I thought Dale Jr. was kind of ridiculous where he was like, if he doesn't finish in the top 5, then like it's not like he didn't say he didn't deserve it, but he's like, I won't be impressed unless he finishes in the top 5. I'm like, I'm impressed by top 10.
I wouldn't risk the money.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't risk the money. Like if that's what you're going out on the limb on, you know what I mean? As an owner to sign him to maybe win one of those 7 street/road course races that are in the schedule. Is it worth that money to finish where you're going to finish on the ovals with no experience? But I'm saying it is because I think, Whitey, you nailed it. I think he's a quick learner.
Yeah.
It's not like he has never, he's a pro. And 34 years old to 45 years old, that's the window that everybody learns and that's the time right there. So he is I think he's entering that time. He has to be quick with it, but I think this is the time that he might be able to make a little splash in NASCAR and do enough to warrant the respect.
Back in the day, there was a lot of 34-year-old rookies. Like, that's just how it kind of worked. Like, you didn't get into the Cup Series until your late 20s, early 30s, So, like, what's up, Matt?
I'm going to be 34 next year.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You're telling me there's a chance.
There's still a chance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Get on that short track, baby. I'll send you some cars there for sale on Facebook Marketplace. We'll drop a crate engine in, start turning some laps at Pocono or something. Try to get an ARCA ride. Frankie Muniz is doing it. How about your wreckers?
Just like Matt, I had a hard time finding some wreckers here. I have two. The first one is Ricky Stenhouse. He just seemed to not know where the brake pedal was. Him and the 15 were going back and forth.
Yeah.
He took out the 67, which Junior was blowing him like a mother. And he did shit compared to SVG and the other guy, Bostic.
Yeah, that was real disappointing. I was disappointed in the 67 too. I thought.
Yeah, so I got to wreck Ricky, but my actual wreckers, and this is, Chase Elliott. I have to wreck Chase Elliott here for one reason. You're the road course king, right? You dominate on road courses, right? You need to win. Yep. You could not convince me in a million fucking years that if Chase Elliott is in second with 20, 30 laps to go at a road course and it's a must win, that he was going to lose that race by not being able to get around the car in front of him. And to me, this was a letdown. Chase Elliott, he had an opportunity to solidify that, to be like, okay, I'm going to show you guys that I am the road course king. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get to the front. I'm going to win. I'm going to get in the playoffs. I'm going to rally my fan base behind me. I'm a champion of this fucking sport. I'm the fan favorite. Let's go. I would have loved to see that. He needed that spark, that fire, and him coming runner-up. I know he still finished second, but Matt, you said it in the text, second isn't good enough. And if there's one person that's in second that could win, that should win that race, especially when it's Michael McDowell in the lead. I know he's a good road course racer, but this is front row versus Hendrick is what I'm specifically talking about here. You're in a Hendrick car, the 9 car, the dominant road course car. You are the guy. And you couldn't get it done against front row and Michael McDowell. I'm sorry, but that was just a shock and a half to me, man. And Matt, I know you're the resident Chase fan. I kind of did this to kind of spark a little bit of emotion out of you here, because I know we texted about it, but that, to me, that was unacceptable from Chase there.
Couldn't agree more, man. There's two things that I look back at that I think could have put him in a little bit better position. And I know, like you said, it's crazy because he came in second, but there's a couple things. So do you remember, I believe it was on one of the pit stops, it was Suarez sped up to the back of Michael McDowell to close some distance on him before they got to pit road.
Yeah.
And he's had the opportunity to do that, and he didn't. He played it safe. And then on that same pit stop, I think he laid down the same exact pit stop time as Michael McDowell, so he didn't close any distance. And that's where he's lucky that Suarez had his incidents, because if that didn't happen, he probably would have finished third. So yeah, we just needed a little bit more out of them. Like you said, they're Hendrick Motorsports. My only saving grace is he's going to his best, not road course, any track, his best track in Watkins Glen this upcoming weekend. So him and Alan puts together a really good car for Watkins Glen every year. And so I after what I saw this past Sunday at Indy, I'm confident that Chase is going to get it done. I mean, this is it, right? We can't go into Daytona on a wing and a prayer, hoping to God that you don't get wrecked out. So it's this or nothing. This is my playoff. This is my wild card race, if you will, coming up on Sunday.
And I know you're the resident Chase fan here, but I will admit, as an outsider looking in, to have the fan favorite, to have a champion like him, to have the face of the sport on the cutoff, it's kind of a good thing for the whole picture right
exciting.
Now. It's fun to see that. It's the main headline. It's something that everyone's going to be looking for. And what better than, like you just stated, Chase Elliott couldn't get it done at the Indy Road Course, came second, lost to Michael McDowell. That's got to irk him. Now going to his best track, He's got this is like a second opportunity for him to get it done. And man, am I excited to watch him go out there and do it. Like this race might be more exciting to me because of that factor than Daytona, because Daytona is a little more of a wild card than I think this road course is going to be. So man, it's just, I think this is good. It's good.
I always try to find the silver lining, even when I'm talking about like my other sports teams, whether it be Notre Dame, the Jets, whatever. I try to be realistic and fair and look at it from a bigger, larger perspective. And the fact that last year we had Martin Truex Jr. miss the playoffs, this year Chase Elliott might miss the playoffs. I like to see the silver lining in that. Like, we have such a talented field of drivers that's possible, where we have two former champions of our sport missing the playoffs because there's just so many other good drivers out there. And I know, Chase missed races because of suspensions and a broken leg and everything, but still, like, he's going to possibly miss the playoffs. And again, last year, Martin missed the playoffs. The field is talented, man. You can't screw up, is I guess what I'm trying to say. There's no room for error now because the next guy is going to leap over you. There's enough people to take that spot now.
Yeah, early on in the season, we started seeing like multiple wins out of like certain drivers and stuff. I didn't think we would be in this spot again, like last year, where it's like, wow.
I didn't think it at all.
We have 13 different winners locked in. We technically had 14 different winners this season, but SVG doesn't count towards the playoffs. And like, it's crazy. I really do feel bad for the Chase Elliott fans though, because like right now he's sitting outside the playoff bubble by 80 points. That's 2 races.
It's a win. Need to win.
Well, yeah, but like that's 2 races and a couple stage points. Like he could have easily been pointed in at this point if it wasn't for all of the stuff that happened early on in the season. If this was just a regular season, it wouldn't even be a topic of discussion. But I kind of am glad it is because
it top 5 last week, blew his tire. Yeah, and that was that.
Yeah, it just sucks, but it also. It makes for interesting storylines, and we're kind of here for the storylines. That's why we're doing the podcast, because I'm interested in all of it, but let me do my checkers and wreckers. My checkers, I have to give it to him. Michael McDowell in front row. Normally we barely talk about the winner on a Monday or a Tuesday. And that's really all there was to talk about because he was that dominant throughout the race. And you want to know what? Just the team in general, the last 3 seasons, we kind of touched on this. I wrote it down, but we've seen this team coming alive ever since that Daytona 500 win. They got the injection of cash. Now you get to charge more for sponsors, all that stuff. And they've been investing in the team. In fact, early on, I didn't get to listen to the whole episode, but Denny Hamlin had Michael McDowell on his podcast on Monday, and they were talking about how if everything goes to plan, by the end of this season, they could buy their own Hawkeye, which the Hawkeye is the digital scanning tool that every team has to run through at the track. Well, most teams have their own, so they could run theirs through the Hawkeye, make adjustments, get the most out of their car. And listening to McDowell talk about it, they have to rent time. They could take theirs to RFK because they have their technical alliance and everything, but they can only do it once. So they're not getting the best out of their cars yet, and they're still improving. It seems almost week by week, or at least month by month, they're getting better and better. And I'm really excited to see what this team can do because they've been around for a long, long time. And the fruits of the labor are really starting to pay off. I wasn't shocked that he won this race. He's been in the mix in the last, 10 road course races over the last couple seasons. And he was on the cutoff line to begin with. Like he was pointing his way in. He was doing everything he had to do. So really just big props to Michael McDowell in Frontrow Motorsports.
Kind of reminds me of back in the day with MTJ and Furniture Row.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You win a race here, you win a race there. Next thing you know, they've got the money infused into the company, and now we're a contender every single week. So it's an interesting career arc for him. And by all accounts, it seems like he's a really good dude too. So
yeah.
And Whitey, to your point too, like I remember when the race was ending and he said like the 500 when his family wasn't there, they only select the races that they think they have a shot at.
Yeah.
And he had his family there. And like I said, the emotions that was in it, because I mean, even my girlfriend Dana, she was like, "Oh my God," she's like, "I'm going to start crying right now." Like,
I got choked up. Yeah,
it's emotional because, dude, he's stuck with that 34 team.
He chose to stay.
Even if other teams might have saw some talent in him, like he might have had opportunities to get him better equipment, and he said, "No, I love this team. I love this car and the people that are around me." Loves is always on that.
Yeah.
That relationship always has that sponsor. So it is a feel-good story to see, how long that he was waiting for this opportunity and grinding it out. And it was no shock to me either. I think anybody that has been paying attention and has been, serious or listening to us, they wouldn't have seen it as a shock that he won either.
But also at the same time, Eric, you got to say it. Fuck Michael McDowell.
Fuck Michael McDowell.
What race did he hold up Eric Jones at?
Oh, dude, multiple races. It was like a couple weeks in a row where I'm just like, this is just getting out of control now.
It was. I forget what race really set it off, but McDowell was holding up Eric Jones with a fast car too, and I'll never forget that episode. That was a great episode. Go back to last year. I think there's a YouTube clip somewhere of that too. My wreckers, I give it to Suarez's pit crew, but I can't even really blame the pit crew. It's just unfortunate.
That was shit luck.
It was like the weird dude. And how about the broadcast booth? How about Steve
slowing
Letarte
it down and
breaking down how the hose snaked and bounced
Yeah.
off his knee and went under the tire? And it's like the technical little itty bitty stuff that goes into winning or losing a race like that. It's why we love it.
Especially like coming off, like, I think it wasn't that pit stop, but it was the last pit stop where, Matt, you mentioned it. He gunned it up to catch McDowell's tail end before he crossed the line. And then I think he jumped him on that pit stop. And then, it just gets thrown away a little later on. I was dying laughing. You said it was karma because he knocked Chase out of the way, which I thought that was really fucking funny. But yeah, it just sucks on a day when you need perfect execution and just like shit luck. Because I think he really did have a car for McDowell. I think he could have competed. Because even listening to Tyler Reddick's interview on NASCAR radio with Larry Mack and Alan Cavano was in it, wasn't Danielle Trotta, but on that midday show, he said he couldn't pass Suarez. He said if he got around Suarez, he thought he had something for Chase and McDowell. He would have probably ran them down. But Suarez was just blocking like a motherfucker. He couldn't beat him. And I think if Suarez was able to get around McDowell, it would have been kind of the same deal. But yeah, just unfortunate for them. We'll see what they have for Watkins Glen. Obviously, they put together a really strong road course car this week. We'll see what happens next week. I think it's going to be a battle from all the same guys next week, possibly, which has me super excited that I'm going to that race. I hope it's a really good one. But that's all I have for my checkers and wreckers. Not a whole lot of race notes to talk about. I didn't put any race notes in because I feel like we covered pretty much all of the main events of the race, unless there's something you guys might have seen that I haven't.
Now, it was kind of a playoff bubble race, like we stated in the beginning. The guys that needed to show up were the ones in the front that we all had eyes on, and I think the broadcast kind of did that as well. I know we praise them for going through the field and showing, where the actual battles are going on. But when you have the playoff bubble and you have Chase Elliott and you have, running up front and battling for the win and these strategies coming out, I think that I was happy that was the focus. I didn't need to see the other battles in the back with only 2 weeks to go. It kind of made sense to me. So I'm sure there was a little bit more beating and banging in the back of the pack. I was actually disappointed. Eric Jones is usually terrible on road courses. He gained like 13 spots in that first stage, and he looked like he had a decent car, and then his engine went. And I'm no. So like that was kind of disappointing, But like you said, Whitey, I think we have all become fans of just the sport, and we want to see the sport do well. And when your driver goes out, you could still enjoy the race as a NASCAR fan. That pit stops, who's going to mess up here, this strategy. So I think overall, yes, not a lot of action on the racetrack that we saw, but I think still just a great race.
All right. How about you, Matt? Anything that stuck out to you that you remember or no?
No, it was an uneventful, fun race. And that's weird. It's two weird things to say in back to back in the same sentence, but that's just what it was. And I think it's the perfect way to put it is it was a great appetizer for Watkins Glen, because Watkins Glen is our favorite road course on this show. It's arguably the best road course as far as entertainment goes on track. So I'm so excited. Whitey, I'm jealous. We know you're going to be there. Our buddy PJ is going to be there. He goes up every year. It's we did an off-season episode where we all ranked our favorite tracks overall, and I think all of us had Watkins Glen in our top 5.
Yeah.
So I can't wait.
Matt, you sold Watkins Glen to me a long time ago, and every year I'm like, man, Matt was right. Like, this is the best road course there is. It's so much fun.
Now that there's no cautions, cautions at the end of the stages. Oh my God, I can't wait.
That reminds me, I haven't seen an Xfinity road course race this year. Do they do the stage cautions for the Xfinity series still, or they eliminated them in that series also?
You know what? I didn't take notice, to be honest. I think they took him out as well.
Okay. I just wasn't sure.
If I'm replaying in my head, I mean, and then again, you have a couple 2-3 cold ones.
Oh yeah.
You really kind of. I was half. I had eyes on eyes. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, I meant to ask that earlier when we were talking about the Xfinity race, and it slipped my mind. But dude, I'm so excited for this stretch of racing. We have Watkins Glen, Daytona, and the Southern 500 at Darlington all coming up. I can't wait. Going to be a great couple races. And then we have Kansas, and hopefully that one's a good playoff race. I can't remember last year's Kansas race, but I think it was okay. But boys, if that's all we have for that, we have one last piece of information. Everyone loves to talk about the winner on a Monday or a Tuesday. That's one Michael McDowell. But here on the Bumper Run Podcast, we also like to talk about the guy who came in last place, and that was one Eric Almirola. He actually had driven himself up to like 16th or 19th, maybe even 13th place before running out of gas. What'd you do? They weren't planning for everything to go green the whole entire way, and they did not fill it up. Ended up finishing 3 laps down, and I believe this is the first time that every car completed the race with less than 5 laps down. I think last week actually broke the record, and then this one broke it again. So pretty interesting race. No one was taken out. What's going on, Matt? What you reading?
You know what I'm doing? Because, I'm embarrassed because none of us know, we do a NASCAR podcast. None of us know if Xfinity stops, throws a caution at the end of. So I'm going back and I'm looking at the timeline on NASCAR.com from the Xfinity race to see when the cautions got thrown.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think that they threw the yellow at the end of the stages. So no, I'm going to say they do not throw the yellows at the end of the stages in Xfinity as well.
Nice.
I'm confident in saying that. We should have known that. Sorry, folks.
That's all
right. Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday. But boys, that's all I have for the race weekend. We're heading to Watkins Glen, like we said, Saturday Xfinity on track, 3:30 on USA for the Shiner Children's 200, and they won't have stage breaks. Sunday Cup on track, 3 p.m. on USA for the Go Bowling at the Glen, and of course practice and qualifying 2:30 on Saturday for them. To go over our picks from last week, I picked Tyler Reddick. He got me 44 points, so I go second. Matt, you picked Ty Gibbs. He got you 25 points, so you go first. And Eric picked the big winner, Michael McDowell. He got you 59 points. I left my money gun in the car. I lent it to our buddy Shrey,
Eric,
and I haven't brought it in. Hold on. All right.
Oh, I got to see the money gun on the way down to Guns N' Roses. I'll tell you that.
We don't have it was literally sitting on the passenger seat of my car. We don't have the money gun, so I have to go manual. I'm using my fingers. Yeah, Eric, baby. making the mess still.
The bump and run 7th exacto of the season.
If you're only listening, you're not watching on YouTube, you're missing out. I'm throwing out fake $100 bills in for Eric's win. But yeah, big win for Eric. Matt, you're right. It's what, number 7?
I believe it's our 7th exacto.
8th. It's our 8th.
Oh
Yeah. So we picked.
Yep.
We picked Bushwright at Auto Club, Reddick at Coda, Bell at Bristol Dirt, MTJ at Dover, Denny Hamlin at Kansas, Ryan Blaney at Charlotte, Martin Truex Jr. at New Hampshire, and Michael McDowell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.
So right? I'm picking first.
Yeah, you're picking first. Ty Gibbs got you 25 points, but you're still leading the points with 794. I'm at
another reason why I hate Ty
and
Gibbs.
Eric's at 699. So you're comfortably in the lead for the championship, for the Bumper Run Championship. But yeah, who are you gonna pick?
It's perfect. So I'm Statman Matt, right? Like I love the stats, I love numbers, things like that. So it lines up perfect. We've had 8 exactos. Well, I have the 9th exacto, and it's gonna be number 9. I have no choice.
There you go.
It's now or never. Chase Elliott
It's
wins
now
at Watkins
or
Glen.
never. Is that a song? No, that's not a song. Yeah, I like it. I'll be there. If he wins, I'll chug a beer on Victory Lane for you.
Do you know? Did you get seats or an infield or what do you? Okay,
seats in turn 1. Very excited for turn 1. Should see a lot of action there, so we'll see him coming down the front stretch too. So very excited about that. I don't know who I want to pick, to be honest with you. I want to go with Daniel Suarez because of what they showed at Indy. I think they're going to put something together. I say we see another upset win, and we see Daniel Suarez take the win in upstate New York. He won in wine country of Sonoma. Will he win in the Finger Lakes wine country? We'll see what happens.
There's another guy outside of Chase Elliott who tends to really, really, really like.
Matt, how many exactos did you say we had?
We had not. Well, we're gonna have 9 after this week when I get it right with Chase Elliott. We have 8.
Okay. And who is in the 8 car? Someone that runs really well at Watkins Glen. I'm going with the 8 of Kyle motherfucking Busch.
That ECR engine program's gonna get a talking to after this past week. They're gonna put a rocket ship together. I can feel it. I like it.
I was referring to Martin Truex Jr. I'm surprised none of us took MTJ. He runs so good at Watkins Glen.
Something about these, I don't know. Like
something about the playoff driver. I don't know. Toyota.
Wait, who'd you take?
I picked Daniel Suarez, probably mostly because of the storyline. Man, Martin Truex Jr. is a good pick though. But what did he do at Indy?
I don't think he was relevant in Indy.
I don't think he was relevant at Indy
no, that's
either.
not true. He finished 7th. He averaged a 10th place running position. He just wasn't one of the top 3 or 4 cars that everyone was talking about the whole time.
That makes sense. I don't know, man. He still had, he's got a lot of wins this season.
Don't forget. Do not forget how
wins this season.
How good he's been this year.
Toyota's been real fast. Nah, I'm sticking with Suarez though. I like KB. Eric, you keeping KB?
Oh yeah, I'm keeping Kyle Busch. I think he's been having really, really fast cars like Reddick and these guys, and something has happened to him and not finished the way. I think they get it together before the playoffs and take that little bit of worry, gain some points, playoff points going into the future, and look out for Rowdy Busch come playoffs.
You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like Matt talked himself out of his own pick, and he wants to pick his real number 1 driver, Martin Truex Jr. We know
I didn't even think about that.
We know he's a closet Truex fan, but no, we are 24 races into the 2023 season, and we have 13 different winners locked into the playoffs. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, William Byron, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Chris Buescher, and newly added Michael McDowell on the cutoff line. Kevin Harvick plus 145, Brad Keselowski plus 143, And Bubba Wallace plus 28. He is clinging on. And then Daniel Suarez minus 28. Ty Gibbs minus 49. And then Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman tied at minus 80 points. So getting exciting. Not sure. I mean, if Bubba has a bad day, Suarez has a good day, and then Bubba wrecks out Daytona, I mean, there's possibility for people to point their way in still. We will see, and we will find out if Chase Elliott could win his way into the playoffs at his favorite track, the Glen. Will Kyle Busch take one number off that number 9 and get the 8 car in victory lane, or will Daniel Suarez pull the 99 in victory lane in wine country once again, just on the other side of the country? We'll find out this Sunday, 3 p.m. on USA for the Gulp Bowling at the Glen. And we'll break it all down for you right here on the Bumper Run Podcast on Tuesday night. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.